Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to day 19 of our self-love challenge. And today is going to be another story time. And what I want to talk about today is alcohol and my relationship with alcohol. So, to give a little background here, I grew up with a mother who drank alcohol. She was an alcoholic. And when I was in 7th grade, I got in trouble for drinking at a school dance. And I got suspended from school. And my parents then got me really drunk to show me, what alcohol was actually like. And it worked for a while. I didn't really drink until I was 21. I really hated alcohol. The night they got me drunk, I was so drunk. I drank every kind of alcohol there was, pretty much, and a lot of it, and I had a hangover for 13 hours. It was I'm surprised I didn't have alcohol poisoning. And I was probably 14 at the time. So during high school and stuff, I didn't really drink. I didn't like alcohol. I don't like the way most alcohol tastes anyway. My preferred poison is Jägermeister, and it's still to this day really the only thing that I can take the taste of. I can't drink enough of anything else to get that feeling that we go after. So I didn't really start drinking until I was in my 20s, and at that point it was for fun. And I quit with each of my pregnancies, and that was it was difficult, but I did it. So that was in my 30s, and I thought I didn't really have a problem. And then my mid-30s, I started taking antidepressants because I believe I was suffering with postpartum. And you're not supposed to drink with the antidepressants, but I did, and that went really, really bad. And then it got to a point where I needed a drink for anything. If I was having a bad day, I needed a drink to calm my nerves. If I was celebrating, I wanted a drink to celebrate. If I wanted to have fun, I needed a drink to have fun. And in the darkest times of my drinking, I knew what it was like to have a mom who was an alcoholic, and the inconsistencies there. And I could see that I was doing the same thing, even though whenever I was a teenager, I hated alcohol. After I got in trouble for it, and then I got really drunk, and then shortly after that was whenever I started to realize my mom's issues. Before middle school, I didn't really see what she was struggling with. And even when I was in high school and I knew she was struggling, I didn't realize that it was her insides that were hurting. I thought I didn't know why she was drinking. I didn't have the experience yet. I know now because I've lived it. But I hated it. There were times that I would stare at her beer bottles. She liked Michelob Light, and I would just imagine them shattering. So at that time, I had swore to myself that I would never be like this. And then I flash forward 15, 20 years, and I'm sitting out in my yard feeling pain, drinking until the end of the bottle, and just really feeling so helpless. Like, how did I get here? Why am I doing the same thing? And how can I do something different? And that feeling of like knowing that it's what I really didn't want to be doing, and then watching myself do it day after day after day, and then it just kept getting worse. My behaviors, like, they were scary. Like, you know, throwing my phone at the wall, very destructive. And I'm not proud of it, but I do see the purpose of me living through it, because it helped me gain so much understanding for what my dear mother was dealing with. And it's not easy to just put it down. You see, alcohol isn't the problem. It is our way of solving the problem. The problem is pain. The problem is self-abandonment. The problem is shame. The problem is guilt. The problem is these thoughts that are lying to you. You know, like the fact that I thought I needed alcohol to have a good time, it's just not true. And because I drink alcohol thinking I'm going to have a good time, and then it turns into not a good time, like, it's just not true. So getting in there and figuring out the reasons that we think we need to drink, and figuring out the thoughts that are triggering that, the beliefs that are triggering that, the emotions that pop up, and then we're like, oh, I need a drink, you know, because we don't want to sit in that, you know. And it's just really getting in there and discovering that, you know, one of the other reasons I used to drink was to, like, feel more relaxed, right? And then I would drink and I would wake up at like 3 or 4 in the morning with the worst anxiety ever. So it's like I'm drinking to relax, yet I wake up feeling not relaxed. And then it's like, oh, well, then you would need another drink. And then it just continues that cycle. There's the socializing aspect of it, you know, like many people get together and drink, and it's like, that's just expected, you know, and it can feel awkward if you're not drinking. So in order to stay in certain friend groups, you know, you kind of get into that, and that's like, it's not good for you. Alcohol is 100% not good for you. It is poison. It is gasoline. It affects every organ in your body. It shrinks your brain. It messes up your gut. It messes up your hormones. Like, there are positive benefits to it, but they're so temporary, and then it often ends up doing the opposite anyway. You know, I used to drink because I wanted to feel more like myself, and then I would end up being this complete monster. It's not what, I mean, I guess it is part of me, you know, but it's not like who I actually am. It's the pain. It was the pain coming through, because I wouldn't speak of it or feel it in my fullness, it would come out in pretty gross ways while I was drinking. And you know, it was what, 2023 in February that it really all, I had been trying to stop drinking for like 2 years before that. So I had it down to like every other week I was having a drink, and whenever I was drinking, I would make sure that I knew why I was drinking before, and I was like working through it as I was doing it. You know, I was conscious drinking. And then in 2023, I got really drunk and I chose to drive, and I made some other bad decisions that night too, and I got caught, and I got a DUI, and that DUI literally, I think, is one of the best things that's ever happened to me, even though it was very hard to go through. You know, it was hard to explain to my kids why I couldn't drive anywhere for a few months, and why I had an anklet on for like almost a year, and a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of, you know, there was a lot of shame involved in having to go and pee in front of somebody once a month. I was very scared. There was one time that I went to get a drug test, and she told me I was borderline dilute, meaning my pee was too watery, because I went later in the day than I normally do, so I'd drink in more water. So it was very scary, that the fact that if I drink too much water and go in here, I could go to jail, you know, for a year. Even though I wasn't doing anything wrong. I didn't drink the entire time I was on probation or had my little ankle monitor. I did everything I was supposed to do, yet I was still so scared that, you know, like one little mishap and then I go to jail for a year and miss a year of my kid's life, you know? But that year that I wasn't allowed to drink, because if I did, I would go to jail, like, it really, it made me sit in the reasons that I wanted to drink. It made me sit in the emotions. It made me sit in the pain and really look at it. And it helped me figure out different ways to cope that are more healthy, albeit they're not as quick. Like, alcohol gives you that quick fix, but then it kind of gets worse. These other methods of, like, what we've been going over, bringing awareness into our thoughts, seeing what beliefs are behind them, and then feeling the emotions and processing them. Like, it's a permanent fix. Even though they keep coming up, that's just more little things to work through, but like, it fixes that belief. Once you rewire that belief that you are worthy of having a beautiful life, you know, you do deserve to treat your body well, you know? Once you rewire all that, then it's like you don't even really want to drink anymore, because you know it's not good for you. You know that you're not going to feel good later. You know that it's not going to solve your problems. You know that it's not going to make you have a good time, you know? So I'm very grateful for that time, even though it was very shameful at the time. I was full of guilt and shame, and it gave me a lot to work through. And so it's like, I see it all the time too in my sober groups, like, how do you not drink? And I often think about it, like, if I wouldn't have been like in the position where I was going to go to jail if I did drink, I often wonder, you know, I mean, I was on that path. I was getting there. It was just slow, and this kind of like made it made it happen. So then I got off of probation, and it was like, you know, I wanted to drink. I still had things to figure out. And so I drank a little bit here and there. It wasn't like it was before. And I was just kind of figuring out like more of these thoughts and beliefs. Like my thinking is that I need this drink because I want to be closer to who I actually am, right? And whenever I'm drinking, I feel like I'm more myself because it takes away your little thing that regulates whether or not you say certain things. You know, courage is another one, liquid courage. So because I have issues with setting boundaries and speaking up for myself, sometimes I would use alcohol to help with that. And then, you know, whenever it came time to set the boundary and I was drunk, it didn't go so well. So it's like I just had these other little things that I needed to kind of prove to myself that alcohol actually isn't the answer. The last time I visited with alcohol was in April, and that one was because I wanted to have a good time, and it ended up being not a very good time. And so after that, I gave myself permission to be me, and I gave myself permission to have a good time, you know, and then it's not come back up. So, you know, I don't know, maybe there will be more instances in the future where I feel like I need it, but we'll figure that out whenever we get there. But yeah, I don't think, like, if you just put down the booze without doing the work that created the thought that you needed the booze to begin with, it's not really healing. It's just like not drinking poison. There's still all of this stuff inside of us that we're trying to numb, avoid, you know? And that's really the root of it. There's that, and then there's just this social aspect too. Like, everybody drinks. It's getting to be different now. There's a lot more sober communities. I don't know if I'm just aware of that because I'm on that path, but I know that whenever I couldn't drink, there were a lot of places that I couldn't go anymore. And it seemed like my whole life kind of revolved around, when are we going to get our next drink? So it was like life-changing. Literally, I had to not go places where I knew that that was like the norm or the expectation. And that's hard. It's hard to change your whole life. Change your friends, you know, like not go to this thing because there's gonna be people trying to like pressure you. Maybe I didn't really ever feel the pressure to drink, other than like everybody was doing it and it kind of looked fun and I was missing it sort of feeling. But it's like, it gave me a lot of understanding of my mom and what she was going through, because I wanted to quit so bad and I just couldn't do it on my own. I needed help from the government to like force me into it. And even still, like, the thoughts are still there, you know, I still get triggers. And like, if you don't have the ability to see the lie that you need it, it's such a vicious cycle. And again, it's not the problem. Alcohol isn't the problem. It's the solution that we're choosing for the actual problems, which is just that we're humans with emotions. And sometimes these emotions are uncomfortable. And we've been led to believe that these emotions make us weak, bad, you know, but they're not. Like, sitting with them and figuring out the message and then giving yourself what it is that you actually need is like, the relief you get from that is so much better than alcohol once you get there. But it's just not easy. It's not, I mean, for me it wasn't the way I was raised. It wasn't the way I saw the world around me. Like, what I saw was people drinking all the time to shove their emotions down. And that is normalized. And alcohol is normalized. It is like in commercials, and it's on TV shows and movies and friend groups, like, you know, so it's hard. That makes it harder. Like, it's already hard even without all that. You're addicted to it emotionally, physically, you know. Yeah. So today's challenge really has nothing to do with alcohol necessarily, but it's something that I started doing a couple months ago, and it's made a really huge difference in my life. And I guess it does kind of have to do with an addiction. The addiction to our phones, right? Which is probably worse than alcohol. But so what I started doing a couple months ago was, before I pick up my phone and like check my messages and look at my Facebook and whatever else, you know, I give myself 5 minutes to connect to me and what I want to do during the day. And I do some tapping and breathing, and I feel into my body. And because oftentimes whenever I was waking up, it was like I was already out of my body. So doing this for 5 minutes before I interact with the world and start taking in whatever's going on, getting into my body, breathing, and knowing what I'm expecting from myself out of the day has been so good. It's been so good. It has made me more productive. I'm actually getting things done that, you know, I've been thinking about getting done, but it's like you get on there and you're like, oh, I need to respond to this email or this message or whatever. Like, it's pulling your energy back into you. And you know, it probably would work too if you were wanting to pick up a drink but not wanting to pick up a drink, to just take 5 minutes before to come back into your body, you know. But yeah, today the point that I'm trying to make is that this work is multifaceted. So like yesterday I was talking about how it's helped my relationship with my kids. And you know, it's helped me. Today I'm talking about how it's helped my relationship with alcohol. And of course, you know, changing my relationship to alcohol has greatly impacted the relationship with my kids, because a lot of the inconsistency that alcohol was bringing in is now gone, because I'm not sober mom and drunk mom. There's not two different versions of me that they need to like figure out which one it's going to be today, you know? But it's not just quitting drinking either that did that. It's the internal work, the recovery that goes along with it. I didn't do a 12-step program, but I've looked at it and it's like really similar to the work that I've been doing. So it's just like I've been doing it, but not as a 12-step. Not like do whatever you need to do, you know? All right, that's it for today. Bye.